Hey babies, it's your favorite host, Mr. BMG, back at it again with another episode. Let's get into it. Anyway, babies, I hope you have had an amazing week and do all the things that make your heart full. This past weekend was obviously the 4th of July, so, it was pretty much excitement all around with, fireworks and, celebrations of different kinds. I guess all in the name of celebrating the Independence Day. I think there's something to be said about that, though. I mean, obviously, the positive aspect of it is how it brings families and people together to celebrate and, catch up, bring in the beginning of the summer, and give people a day off, I guess, to do what they will. But I think what is probably quite important to reflect on is why it's considered an Independence Day. So essentially, from my understanding, it is when the different entities that were on the East Coast of the United States of America, it's when they sort of kind of formed a union and banded together and collectively found a collective identity and said that, hey, we are independent of the crown, i.e. the British, and we're going to forge our own little thing and do our thing and, create our own culture. My question is more so, is there merit in celebrating it when the history of it is kind of complicated? Yes, on the one hand, they were celebrating their independence and breaking away from British rule, but on the other hand, it was colonization, in the same regard. It was them coming to occupy land that was not necessarily theirs to begin with, and appropriating all of that and kind of assuming the space because you're in the space, regardless of whoever you see in the space. Is that something to really celebrate? Do two wrongs make a right? Many different African countries have an Independence Day, the day that people celebrate the break from British rule. In some ways, it's for similar reasons, but the difference here is that instead of Native Americans celebrating, it's people who are from Europe who just decided to form a new identity and had settled here and wanted to disassociate from the policies of how the British Empire was running and essentially just be a byproduct of it. Is it really a day of celebration? Given the complicated history of it, there's Juneteenth, which, in many ways signified the abolishment or the end of slavery, which I think is a big reason, for celebration because that was such a painful past and a painful memory. Juneteenth is more like an Independence Day than 4th of July, particularly for a black person. Well, the capitalist system, I feel, possesses the sentiments of the old system, but just in a more, or under the perception of free will, or under the guise of free will. I use guise particularly because I do feel like the tricks of the trade in the past have just morphed into a very different context, and a context that is today socially acceptable. I guess I say all that to say, because I don't want to get too much into it, because I'm not trying to get into politics. And this podcast is about entertainment, and we should keep it that way. But essentially, if nothing else, 4th of July is a day off for many people to relax and rest. When you look deeper into the symbolism of the day, then obviously it can become very conflicting. Are you celebrating it, or are you questioning it? Some celebrities enjoying 4th of July, so I saw Chloe with Dream and True, and they were it looked like a 4th of July kind of day event with family and stuff. I love to see how inclusive Chloe is of Dream in a lot of the activities and, essentially all the things that they do as a family, particularly with her family, because obviously her daughter is best friends with Dream and they really connect, and it just feels like she's doing the right thing, because obviously we know that Black China and her family kind of have a complicated relationship. So to put that aside and to still push through and be inclusive of Dream, I think it's a big step, and I think she will appreciate that when she's older, that, this woman intentionally tried to make me a part of this family, which is quite tight-knit, and not be othered. Speaking of Black China, she was engaged to some guy, and they ended up calling the engagement off, but apparently they remained friends. So I guess I'm truly puzzled on what actually happened in their relationship. I like the phase that she's in. She just feels like she's in a really fresh space. She's in a good headspace and is affording herself the grace to heal from all the things she's gone through as a person, and it's making her probably a better parent. So I do feel like she's in a really good space, and I'm hoping that whoever she chooses to share her life with complements her family and brings her peace, and is in the headspace that she's in. So I wonder what happened, but I thought I'd just speak about her because I just like the journey that she's on and the zen energy, because I think when you are a parent, having that type of good energy is important so that, trickles down to your child. Anyway, moving on from the 4th of July buzz. So it looks like Ciara was celebrating her 9th wedding anniversary to Russell Wilson. And if you know me, you know that I've been cheering for them for the longest time. I do feel like, speaking from one person, who's in a good space, Angela White, Black China, to another, Ciara is also in a good space, is in like a Renaissance era, This chapter that she has with Russell, like, I really hope that it lasts, because I feel like it's such a good chapter for her. Like, I have never seen her with a man who is so obsessed with her, still into her the way it's like they just met yesterday. They have this beautiful family. He looks like a guy who's very much focused on her, isn't philandering. Looks like he's emotionally intelligent, which is what everyone needs, right? They need somebody, a companion who, not only do they just find them physically attractive, but like emotionally compatible as well. I feel like she's probably found that, So I'm rooting for them, and I'm glad that they made it to year number 9, and may they make it to many more years. Relationship with Future was toxic. It was one of those character building eras, which was just so unfortunate. There's a child involved, so they'll always be tied together. The most mature thing she can probably do is make sure that that child is loved, and any resentment that she has towards the ex Future is not passed over to the child, is not used to create some type of division, between the child and and the father. I think that'll be the most mature thing she could do, and I think that'll probably bode well for her relationship with her child. And yeah, like, obviously it's probably so difficult because he's like obviously quite trashy, and I still don't know why people invite him to different events. Like, I saw him at Pharrell's fashion show in France, and I'm just like, but which publicist or PR person who's like, yeah, let's invite Future? Like, what is his relevance, you guys? Like, I'm just being super honest. Like, why is he relevant? Why does he keep getting invited? He's not making any music. He's not charting on the top 10 of any chart. He's just there. And I feel like his career wasn't iconic. He had a moment in the whole trap music genre, but it wasn't iconic. He didn't leave as much of a mark. He left more of a mark on Ciara in the sense that, wasted her time, essentially. Wasted her time. At the end of the day, I feel like because she found Russell, if Future hadn't fumbled her, that path may not have opened. So it's good riddance to bad rubbish. I'm really loving this theme of Renaissance, good energy, good vibes, because Wendy Williams was also started out just chilling in New York City, walking around with a friend of hers, and she's looking really good. Like, I literally when I saw it, I was like, I need to talk about this because that's my girl. If you know me, I love me some Miss Wendy Williams. Okay. And she looks good. Like, she doesn't look loopy or sedated. So whatever they were putting her on, honey, like, she is wearing it off. And I'm hoping that she keeps in this space, and that the people who are invested in the Free Wendy movement don't lose heart and continue to support her, because the girl just wants to live in peace with her coins that she's worked all her life for, and do whatever she wants to do, and not have to be in the four walls of that luxury, confinement that she finds herself in because of this whole conservatorship thing. So I do feel like seeing her outside, seeing her walking around, looking healthy with her poom poom shorts, honey, that is signature Wendy. Poom poom shorts, fishnets, like, just good energy. Like, it's good to see Wendy in this space, and I'm hoping that it just goes upwards and onwards from here. And look, if she's dating, let her date, because she deserves love. She deserves somebody who's not going to be unfaithful to her. I think at this stage of the game, she just needs companionship. She needs a friend, and if that friend also happens to have a romantic connection, then that's even better. So it's the 25th anniversary of Scary Movie. Obviously, with the long weekend that's passed, people needed something to do and to relax, and whether it's watching movies, to pass time. And obviously, like, the Scary Movie anniversary being on the back of that, I think was perfect, because I don't know how many times I've watched stuff that I've watched many years ago, but I just watch it in any case because I'm like, let me be nostalgic, let me reminisce on what good quality content they made in this era of television. The 2000s were the golden age, I almost feel, of television across the board. Black Hollywood, Disney, like, cinema. It was just the golden age. It was hit after hit after hit. I want to say 2010s as well was pretty good, but the 2000s, there was something different about it, and obviously the 90s built on it. And I'm still waiting for the 2020s shot. Woo, still waiting. Scary Movie is iconic. Like, for me, it's such a beautiful childhood memory. Regina Hall was really the scene stealer, Besides Anna Faris, Regina Hall was definitely the girl we all thought she was, because she was so funny and personable, and just, like, gave it the energy that it needed, And what I think was so important about Scary Movie is it's actually kind of influenced how I watch horror movies today, because it was kind of making fun of the ridiculousness of the horror movies in general. So sometimes when I watch a horror movie now, I can't help but laugh because the way everything happens is so extra and it's so dramatic. Scary Movie pioneered that genre of satire and spoof movies. It was a great success in it. And obviously the Wayans brothers really pioneered comedy, and also were thriving in the 2000s. And, you know, I don't know, like I wonder what happened to the tender, because now instead of giving it to people like Tyler Perry, we could have been giving it to these iconic people who are creating these great TV shows. There's so many iconic black TV producers, but the industry chooses to patronize somebody who isn't producing the best quality. Now, we don't know what the politics are because obviously maybe they have a great working relationship, but I do feel like there's so many talented content and, you know, TV content producers, Issa Rae's, all these people who are out there, you know, Kenya Barris, and all of these people who make great content, but they just don't have 10 or 12 shows on the television network. Like some people, but all of those 10 or 12 shows, 99% of them are half-assed, shot in 2 days, and all of a sudden, you know, slapdash done, and it's like fast food, really. The quality is compromised, but the product is, you know, mass-produced, and while the people involved in it may be benefiting and are happy with what they get, you know, ultimately I think it's the audience who suffers from the bad quality of the content. Yeah, like thinking of being nostalgic with like the 25th anniversary of the Scary Movie and such great talents and producers that those guys were to this day, and I just be like, we need more, you know, we need more as black people, we need more talent, and a lot more people need to be given an opportunity so that it's not like there can only be one black person, because I think that's part of the problem. We need to spread it out and, you know, let the world know that black success is infinite. And of course, last but not least, is the elephant in the room, child. So the Diddy verdict. So Diddy was found not guilty of 3, I think, of the 5 counts, allegedly. One of the key things he was found guilty of was prostitution charge, allegedly. I found it quite shocking, the support that he had, particularly from celebrities who were kind of rejoicing in the fact that, oh, he's found not guilty, and oh my gosh, how quickly we forget of all the things that essentially brought him into this position. I do think groupthink is a real thing. The sentiment or the logic that is employed in the way people make the decisions in terms of what to support and what not to support is very questionable 99% of the times, particularly in the era that we live in, where sometimes I feel like people endorse problematic behavior for the sake of just doing it because they like it. They want to get a reaction out of people. What he was being tried for wasn't necessarily domestic violence, but I think the character of the person, what they did, we can never forget, we can never unsee that video with abuse, kicking somebody, beating somebody, you know. You can never not unsee that. The character of the person spoke more volumes than the verdict of the trial. The character of the person, and no person deserves to be abused in that way, you know. And if we're becoming so desensitized to abuse, you know, then clearly we're in the mayhem era of Lady Gaga's album. The album was so perfect for the era that we live in. You see some celebrities who allegedly like are happy, but these celebrities are women who some of which allegedly have also faced abuse at the hands of men, at the hands of powerful men, but are the first ones to defend and rejoice when this person who was allegedly violent and abusive to Cassie, you know, is found not guilty. Make it make sense to me. It does not even make any sense. Like, you're better off not having said anything, you know. Allegedly there were rumors that Candy and Shamia were joining on the bandwagon, or liked a comment, or whatever happened to that effect. And I'm just like, how do we even reconcile? Because, like, my thoughts on Candy were, the reason why Phaedra left the show was because of the allegations of alleged sexual assault that were fabricated, you know, and essentially Phaedra's lying on Candy. She was. And how quickly are we to now endorse this person who was actually being, well, allegedly, let's just say allegedly just because, but who was in this circumstance where there's even a video of it showing who they are, but we choose to ignore it because this person is charismatic. I was just very disappointed, all in all, with the public opinion on the verdict, you know, and how quickly people just forgot and endorsed and are now dancing in baby oil. And yeah, like, sometimes what the culture perpetuates disgusts me, to be honest, and is quite an irritation. And so I think that's why it's important for everyone to have their own platform and to voice out their comments and opinions on different things, because surely you cannot think that everyone thinks the same way, you know. Surely, because there's a loud voice in the room that's trying to force you to think in a certain direction, surely you can't think we're all sheep and we're all going to fall for it, because all of these people are just, all they are the people who spin the narratives and the stories are very experienced publicists and PRs and fixers and, you know, people who shape the narrative for the public, the general public, you know, not like you and me, but the general public, their opinion. The graphic nature of all the things that came out of that whole trial were actually quite overwhelming for me to even continue to even invest myself. That's why I haven't been talking about, even though they've been talking about it since forever, like every news outlet has been covering the Diddy trial. But I spoke about it when the trial broke, and now I'm speaking about it now when it's concluding, because it was so overwhelming. There was just a lot, and I can't even imagine Cassie, who was there pregnant, has now since given birth, who had to talk about and relive that secondhand trauma, you know, and yeah, it just must have been so jarring and a lot. So yeah, I mean, Diddy verdict still doesn't change my opinion of his character and, you know, the things that he has allegedly done and has been shown to do that is abusive. We can't ever excuse that, and that's never okay. Anyway, babies, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Messy Speech on the Internet. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also follow us on Instagram at BigBentertainment_, and I'll see you again on the next one.